That's kind of creepy. Nope. I'm already like getting ideas for some sort of riff. Hold down a note and then you hit R super fast. And what are we gonna do today? We're gonna do random sound generators again, but this time with Ableton stock instruments. I already made a bunch, and you can have them. I'll put one of them for free in the description again, and the rest is on Patreon. Now check this out. Okay, I'm gonna start by showing you how you can make a really cool random sound generating synth yourself in Ableton. And for that, we're gonna use Operator. And if you put it into a rack, which then becomes an instrument rack, you are also greeted with 8 to 16 macros. And I think you can guess what we're going to do. We're going to select certain parameters and then map them to the macros, and then we're going to hit the randomize button. The thing is though, there's a lot more in Operator than you can map to 16 macros. I know there are Max for Life devices like Device Randomizer, and I urge you to check that one out as well. Let me just load this up real quick. So this is kind of neat. You can link this with any device on a track, and then it finds all its mappable parameters, and you can say, oh, I want certain ones turned off so that they don't randomize. You can also set like a maximum and a minimum value between which you want this thing to randomize. Let me just try something here, and I'm just going to hit random and see what happens. Yeah, so kind of dangerous. Doesn't yield amazing results. Definitely needs a safety limiter, otherwise I'm gonna keep startling myself. That's kind of creepy. Okay. No. This is nope. Nope. Alright, here is a way more useful method. Not saying that the Max for Life device randomizer isn't useful. Like, I really like it for some other applications, but it's just like a little too wild almost. So here I've mapped a bunch of parameters from Operator to these macros over here. Now, I had to make a rack inside a rack because sometimes if you map certain things to macros, like for example here the oscillator waveforms, then you don't get control over their minimum and maximum here, kind of. Like, this is usually where you would be able to set, okay, if the macro is all the way down, start at this waveform, and if the macro is all the way up, then end at that waveform. For some reason it doesn't show up, so you have to put another rack around it, and then it does. Just as a 0 to 127 value, but at least there's that. And then I just usually go and look for parameters that have the most effect on the sound, that'll change it the most drastically, because I can only map 16 here over here. And sometimes I'll have to map multiple parameters to the same macro, like macro 6 here goes to the cutoff frequency, the resonance of the filter, it also turns the filter on or off. And then like while I'm working on it, I'll continuously test like, hey, what if this macro gets randomized all the way to the bottom or all the way to the top? And then, yeah, this is a good range. All the way down here, it gets a sweep up. Here's a pitch sweep down. And in the middle should just be like nothing. Nice. Then macro 15 here is kind of giving oscillator B some sort of attack, but maybe could be a little more. What if oscillator B was louder? Would that still make sense? Plug would still work, yes. Cool, but nice. Little brump. Cool. Are there still any free macros? I think macro 9 isn't doing anything yet. It's just mapped over here, but that isn't mapped to anything. I'll just have that last missing macro select if it's the 12 or 24 pole filter. All right, I can hide that. And now let's hit random a couple times. That's pretty good. I just found out that there's some sort of sports thing going on in America today that's like important or something. I don't know. Can't be that interesting. Okay, so next cool thing is you can save presets now. If you get a result that you like, these audio effect racks and instrument racks, etc., all have this little camera button over here that can save snapshots. A snapshot is like how these 16 macros are currently arranged. So it'll save that as a preset in here, and then you can give it a name, like bonk. Also, I intentionally left the time macro that's like linked to the time control over here unrandomized. So if you do like a right click on any macro, you can say exclude macro from randomization. And I'm also going to give it a color. All the other ones I want to just forget about and just have them randomized. And then the time is kind of like a really handy control over how long or short, how percussive or sustained the sound is. And now we can just keep going. That's kind of neat. Maybe name them later. Oh, I thought I had it set so that it can't select the noise anymore. That is not nice. Let's have a look in here real quick. Oscillator A wave. No, this is B wave. This one. Why are you hitting the noise? Okay, it's only allowed to go to 113. All right, fix to that. It's kind of a spooky womp. That one's kind of neat. Save that. This is nice. This is already like, I'm already like getting ideas for some sort of riff just from randomizing presets. I've decided here to not use oscillator 4, because otherwise it's too much to map, don't have enough macros. But, so oscillator A is always getting FM'd from B. B has randomization on its pitch, and oscillator C is just a sub sign that's just always in the back. So I think having the master time control over here is very handy, and then the only other control I think I would want to put there is the pitch for oscillator 2. Because that has the most impact on the sound, I feel like. And maybe that's like the first thing I would want to adjust if something came out of this randomized that isn't quite there, but could be cool with like a lower FM pitch. So I'm just gonna move these knobs around. I want B chorus on macro 2, and right now there is pitch envelope amount. So I'm gonna move B chorus, you go to 2. And pitch envelope amount, you go to the now free 4. So I'm just going to call it FM pitch. And close this. And this one is still allowed to be randomized though. I wouldn't lock that in place. Then we can actually just like click this little minus button here. So we only see the 2 main controls. You can still have like operator popped out like this to have some visual feedback. Damn. I clicked it one too many times. The previous one was cool. Sweet. All right, these patches already sound pretty nice, even though there's like no processing on them yet. You can probably just like put some OTT on it or a fat rack, and that would make it like nice and loud and fat. But in the spirit of generative sound synthesis and randomization, we're gonna kind of do the same thing that we did with operator here with a really big effects chain. And you can kind of do this however you want. Like, one option is to just make a linear chain of tons of effects and then have like their on-off buttons as well as a parameter linked to macros at the beginning here. Or you make like a bunch of individual chains and then have like a knob on the chain selector again and just spread these out equally and then just spread these out equally, and then it will randomly select one of those chains. Either way works. I like both. There's an audio effect rack that works like this on Patreon in the VRX 2024 folder called Toybox. Oh yeah, this one right here. Okay, so the idea here is really that you don't want to control any of these. And a lot of times it'll be something like, hey, if you turn like this macro up, you see how like this thing over here turns on halfway through, and then it's usually mapped in a way where from the moment it turns an effect on, and then from here to like all the way up, it's moving some sort of parameter around just to get you like as many cool effects variations as possible. All right, I've randomized a somewhat simple FM sound over here. And then let's turn this boy on and click random a couple of times so you can hear what happens. So sometimes it's a little but sometimes it sounds really cool. That's just what you get when you randomize stuff. It would definitely, I guess it would sound more consistent or like better if you had these individual effects chains with the chain selector, but then you would also have like multiple long effects chains, and that would be worse for your CPU. So this is actually kind of neat. And yes, you can also save snapshots over here if there's an effect combination that you like. And then you can mix and match between the randomly generated operator presets and the randomly generated effects presets. And yes, you can also randomize them both at the same time with Command K, and then gonna link this random to R and then this random to R. And let's go. Gonna collapse these here. And just for good measure, I'm gonna put like a slight multiband compressor at the end here, because sometimes it gets a little quiet. It gets bonus fun if you just hold down a note and then you hit R super fast. Yeah, you get the idea. So this like effects randomizer, I'm gonna redo and make it a little bit better because it sounds too washed out most of the time for my taste. So that's what I'm going to be working on for the rest of the day, and then I'll post that on Patreon as well. But yeah, once you've got all of that set up, you can again use either some of the crazy EQ things we did a couple episodes back, or just hit record and record like on an audio track via resampling, and then you have a long file with lots of crazy glitches, throw them into the super slicer. It all works together. I just realized it's probably not smart to use the spread here if this is a random synth rack designed to make bass sounds, because it's basically put a chorus on everything, including the sub. So I have unmapped that from the macro it was tied to, but instead we could put an actual chorus after operator. And then let's see, what were you linked to, sir? Macro 11. Okay, cool. So chorus ensemble on off goes to 11, and then the dry wet. Now it's called device on, you go here, make sure low end stays clean, and then maybe adjust it a little bit so that, okay, it turns on. Chorus device on, it turns on at 64, so halfway through, and it goes from 0 to like maybe 75. Might as well map the amount as well. Sounds pretty good. Okay, this is actually perfect. This is what I meant with like doing 2 or more things on one macro. So now the macro for the chorus turns it on halfway through. So there's a 50% chance of it turning on. But if it falls onto the side of, yep, we're turning the chorus on, then it's like an even chance of hitting somewhere between 50 and 100% amount. So that there you still have like some variation and stuff. And then the dry wet also changes accordingly. So even in the last half of that macro, you still have variety in what the effect's gonna do. This sounds like a little dog. Save it. Tiny doggo. So you can name your presets over here as well. And if you, let's say you load one, you just click this little arrow. If you then change something like the time, for example, you'll see that there's like a little star up here in the corner. That means this preset snapshot has been edited, and if you want to override it with like whatever you've changed, you click on this camera button. Otherwise, you just go on your way. I like the dog bass. So I made like a variety of random instrument racks. The one that I just showed you in this video with operator, I'm gonna put in the description as a free download. And then these other ones you can find on my Patreon. This one's like a little more useful for melodic sounds. It uses the free version of Flechtwerk, which is a Max for Life synth from, what's his name again? Turnar Tech. I'm gonna put a link in the description to their page as well. And then I've like mapped these macros to a lot in here and a couple extra effects. Okay. Huh. That one's kind of nice. So yeah, fairly experimental. These next two are a little more reliable in giving you something useful every time. So this also uses operator, but you don't have any control over the pitch. It'll just give you laser sounds. And I made a couple presets here. And the only thing you should look at is the time knob to like make him longer or shorter. Oh, that previous one was literally destroy them with lasers. Back. I'm gonna add that. Destroy them. Nice. And then this one is also operator, but not like focusing on lasery stuff, more on just like weird, hypey, FME one-shots. Also no key tracking, so whatever key you press, it's always the same pitch. But you can control the frequency over here. And of course the time again. Nice. And then here, these last three are more like a playable FM patches or bass generators. Like this one actually key tracks. I don't think there is a lot of processing on this after the operator. A little bit. And these also come with like a couple of presets already saved in them. These last two are kind of the same, but the second one has more processing on it. Got some. Every once in a while it sounds really good. I should just be recording in the background the entire time. And then this is the same thing, but with some processing, and there's like a fat rack in the end here, so that this is a little juicier. That's almost a kick drum. That's definitely a kick drum. I like though how, especially doing this with operator, kind of yields you some really simple but super useful FM patches, and it's kind of like in this world of the new Skrillex album bass sounds, like these minimalistic but kind of cool odd harmonics FM basses. I'm gonna save that one too. Alright, yeah, if you want to try this yourself, download the thing and or go on my Patreon and download the rest of the things. Everybody have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye!